Italy, a magnificent country.
It's all here. It's quite breathtaking.
A place where I feel deeply connected.
This is where my grandmother Polizzi's journey began.
In this series, I'm returning, but I'm leaving the mainland to explore Italy's extraordinary islands.
So beautiful.
Revisiting memories.
I haven't been here since I was a child, and I thought I'd make a pilgrimage.
And building new ones.
Yay! Buona. I mean, this is one of the maddest things I've ever done. Feels like a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
On a journey of discovery. From the ancient, rugged beauty of Sardinia,
the remains here are spine-tingling,
to the splendor and surprises of Sicily. And some of the Mediterranean's hidden treasures.
It does just feel a million miles away from anywhere else. Look at this. It's one of Sicily's most striking secrets. I can't believe it, it's been too long.
This is my Italian island adventure. My tour begins with Sardinia, Italy's second largest island and a place that's a part of my heritage. Completely marooned in the Mediterranean, its isolation has made Sardinia fiercely independent from the rest of Italy. It's the maverick of the Med. I'll be arriving into its chaotic capital city, Cagliari, before venturing into the rugged Supramonte district, unearthing its dark past, and discovering what makes the mountain town of Lanusei truly unique. It's a 4-hour journey from the north to south of this vast island. Tourists are drawn to the captivating beauty of the north coast. The Costa Smeralda is one of the most glamorous stretches. Super yachts line the marina at Porto Cervo, and the beach at Stintino is a sun-seeker's fantasy. But my journey starts in the south. I should have a strong connection with this island. My father had Sardinian roots, and his mother, my beloved grandmother, was born here.
My nonna Polizzi was the most amazing woman, and I got on with her incredibly well. She was very sharp, very funny, took no nonsense from anybody, and I miss her every single day of my life.
But in fact, Sardinia is the island that I know least.
I never came here growing up as a child. My Forte family were always too nervous about kidnappings and the troubles in Italy at the time.
My only real encounter with Sardinia was when my nonna used the local dialect from time to time.
So when she wanted to talk to my grandfather without us children knowing, she'd slip immediately into Sardinian, which is completely incomprehensible. And I used to tease her about it endlessly, and it's pretty hard, even for an Italian speaker, to get their heads around Sardinian. I never managed it.
It seems fitting to start my journey of exploration with a visit to its capital city, Cagliari.
My grandmother had a house here, and we talked so many times about coming here, about her bringing me here, and I never made it with her. Silly me.
Grazie.
Most visitors arrive here via the airport, one of 3 this island has. But as far as I'm concerned, the best way to first catch sight of it is from the water. Cagliari's beauty is rather subtle.
Certainly from here, it's not the most beautiful city I've ever been to. D.H. Lawrence said it was nothing like Italy, but I think it's still recognisably Mediterranean. It does have a certain charm of its own. It's slightly crumbling in the way that so many Italian cities are, but that is part of the charm of Italy. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Being here has awakened my desire to know more about my heritage.
I absolutely adored my nonna Polizzi, Nonna Lillina, but I didn't know much about her life.
So I've come to Cagliari's registry archive at the heart of the city, in the hope that Salvatore can tell me more about my roots.
Cosa ha
C'è
scoperto?
l'atto di matrimonio del 1912 di Polizzi Francesco con Emma Nurchi.
Allora, questo era il bisnonno?
Certo, Francesco è il suo bisnonno.
But what's written here is a complete surprise to me.
Subito. Allora, anche il nonno era sardo? Nonno Dino?
Beh, certo.
It turns out that I'm more connected to this island than I realised.
Allora, pensavo di essere solo un quarto sarda, può darsi sono mezza sarda.
Mezza sarda, appunto.
I knew I was a quarter Sardinian, but now it appears I may be more than that. I may be even half Sardinian.
Now that I've discovered I have more roots here than I thought, I'm really excited to explore the Sardinian culture. As one of the biggest ports in the Mediterranean, the sprawl of Cagliari's neighbourhoods is about as chaotic as Sardinia will ever get. But like so many places I've visited, its cuisine holds the key to what this city is really all about.
In Italy, markets really are still a way of life. People very rarely go to a supermarket. So this is a wonderful way to absorb local culture, local traditions, and also local cuisine.
But it's well worth hopping on a bus or in a taxi and making the short journey to San Benedetto's market. Here you'll be rewarded with some real Sardinian produce if you're feeling brave. It's incredibly evocative for me.
When I was on the boat with my grandparents, about every other day we'd have to come to a fruit market, a vegetable market, a fish market like this. There were about 10 of us to feed day in, day out, and then get through a lot of food.
This vibrant space is one of the largest indoor markets in Europe. But with more than 200 stallholders all vying for your business, it's a pretty daunting prospect. Francesco is one of the city's most famous restaurateurs, and he's agreed to help me navigate my way to the best bits of Sardinian cuisine.
Buongiorno.
Like stallholder Maurizio's porceddu, or suckling pig.
È una nostra tradizione il maialetto. Noi lo mangiamo piccolino, invece nelle altre parti d'Europa e del mondo lo vogliono grande.
Here, no part of the pig is wasted.
This is boiled hoof and neck. It's boiled with vinegar and parsley. Come lo mangi?
Così è già cotto, è pronto da mangiare ed è ottimo.
Oh my God, I don't know.
È cotto, è ottimo.
It's quite fatty, but not nearly as slimy as you'd expect.
But as far as I'm concerned, you're not Italian if you don't adore cheese. Both of my grandmothers were fabulous cooks. Their soufflés and risottos form my earliest food memories.
Italians eat a lot of cheese, even in my little household with 2 small children. Well, I definitely get through a kilo of Parmesan a month, easily.
Sardinia's most famous export is pecorino, a robust cheese that's made from sheep's milk.
So this is the most typical Sardinian cheese. In Sardinia, they even use this grated on top of spaghetti. I love cheese, so I'm in heaven. Buonissimo. Perfetto. Questo è veramente buonissimo. It's very strong tasting, very strong flavored.
They say you can have too much of a good thing. I can't say I agree, personally.
Yummy.
I could stay here all day.
I'm not even vaguely cheesed out.
But in the noisy depths, you'll find what this market is most famous for, an abundance of the freshest seafood.
They're so fresh, they're alive. So do you serve these in your restaurant?
Yeah, a lot. We just boil them up and with a little bit of salt.
Sea slugs.
Sea slugs.
Somehow anything with the word slug in it doesn't really encourage me, but are they good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are they an acquired taste?
The taste is very strong.
Very strong.
I can't say I'm convinced. But Francesco isn't letting me leave Cagliari without trying one of his seafood specialities at his restaurant, Lilicu.
So, these are gianchetti, which are a speciality from around here. Little baby fish fried up. Delicious.
Down near the port, where the food is more reasonably priced, this atmospheric trattoria draws in crowds from all walks of life. Opera singer Andrea Bocelli can be spotted dining on seafood alongside hungry fishermen.
This place is an institution. Everyone comes here, and I understand why.
Cagliari has delivered a healthy dose of authentic culture, but it's inland where you'll find the real essence of Sardinia. I've travelled 3 hours east of Cagliari, where the drama of Sardinia's wild, sparse interior begins to unfold.
This vast wilderness behind me is a Supramonte. The silence is only broken by dogs barking and the sound of the goats' bells.
For the more adventurous traveller, this part of the island is ripe for exploration. Vistas like this jaw-dropping gorge can be discovered, and the atmospheric town of Orgosolo is a real highlight of the region, where years of political turmoil are etched on its buildings in a series of poignant murals. But I'm drawn to this rugged landscape because of its dark past. In the early 70s, when I was a child, Sardinia was encountering terrible troubles with bandits. There had been a series of brutal kidnappings where the wealthy were being targeted. Because of the success of my grandfather's business, I was deemed a kidnap risk. I've decided to hire a local guide, Luciano, to learn more about these troubled times.
Ciao, Luciano.
Oh.
And understand why my parents kept me from visiting Sardinia as a child.
Bene, grazie. Andiamo. Questa regione, perché è stata questa che è così conosciuta per i banditi?
I banditi c'erano perché comunque erano, diciamo che era un fenomeno più sociale che altro. C'era molta povertà, molto isolamento,
Sì.
e quindi c'era il fenomeno delle ruberie, insomma si rubava. I rapimenti non erano cose casuali, non è che arrivava il turista e veniva rapito, no, generalmente erano persone veramente miliardari e veniva chiesto un riscatto.
When I was young, I heard these stories endlessly, and obviously it wasn't just a question of ransom, it was just the fear of having someone taken from you. It was very alive in all our minds. People were very, very fearful.
The bandits used this vast granite landscape to evade capture. These mountains are studded with a network of caves that made it easy for them to keep moving and stay hidden from the authorities.
Lì ci facevano il fuoco, come diceva, vedi il fumo che c'era.
Sì.
Sicuramente lo utilizzavano per quello. Quindi era un riparo.
So this is an area that was probably a hiding place. It definitely shows sign of human habitation, whether it was just because of the goats and the shepherds, or whether it was used for more sinister purposes.
Ma al territorio lo usavano tutto, poi i nascondigli potevano essere anche una semplice pietra dove si nascondeva sotto,
Yes.
oppure ci sono delle querce enormi. Delle querce enormi che hanno un buco dentro, no?
Sì.
Ci stanno persone dentro, si possono anche coricare dentro.
They knew all the hiding places, and someone who wasn't from here would never, ever have been able to scope them out. It's very heavily wooded. It's very rocky. It's pretty impenetrable.
It's incredible to think that bandits were bringing victims here as recently as 1997. But now it's a much safer destination for visitors looking to hire a car and explore. There is, however, one enduring figure that has always remained here. For the shepherd, farming this land is just a way of life. The bonus of having a guide is getting to meet the locals. Luciano's taking me to meet the last isolated shepherd to live and work out in these mountains.
È molto isolato qui, vabbè, non è
Sì, non è
lontano
proprio-
del
sì, ma-
paese. Piacere.
Piacere
This is
mio.
Alex, this is the Ciccio.
Ciao Messina.
Piacere mio, grazie. Sono felice di essere qui.
At the ripe age of 80, Ciccio has never married. Instead, he chose an entire lifetime of farming here.
È un lavoro duro che fa.
È un po' duro, ma alzarsi presto, verso le 3 di mattina e quasi tutto il giorno c'è da fare.
E allora qual è la parte più dura della vita qua su?
Sono un po', diciamo, isolato. Io sono l'unico che rimango, è l'unica che mi fa compagnia, più che altro è la televisione.
Ciccio's family would love to see him move closer to town, but he refuses to give up his animals.
Le piace sempre questo modo di vivere?
Lavoro, diciamo, essere a contatto col bestiame da quando ero bambino. Tutta la vita. Sono abituato, è proprio per quello. Tanto, proprio adesso non devo me ne devo andare. Tanto sto arrivando a Capolinea.
What a charmer he is, 80 years old, and so cheerful. He's an example to all of us.
And I seem to have charmed Ciccio because he's invited us to stay for lunch, and I'm in for a treat. He's been preparing the traditional feast of the Sardinian suckling pig.
So this is a 2-month-old pig. He says only here in this part of the world do they cook them so small.
Lo chiamiamo porché due latte, cioè un maialetto che ancora succhia il latte.
The secret to cooking it is slowly and gently over a low heat.
Per quanto tempo è stato sul fuoco?
Circa 2 ore.
2 hours. It's the first time I've eaten suckling pig on the spot where it's been raised, so I'm very excited indeed.
This traditional way of cooking is primitive, but nothing could prepare me for how Ciccio's nephew carves the meat.
Darling, please. We're quite far removed, aren't we, in normal life from how we eat meat. It's quite sobering seeing it being carved like this. This is how real men eat. I'm very, very excited now.
È buono?
Mamma mia, tenero. Oh, it is so tender. I have honestly never in my life eaten pork like this. These days, there's a lot of chat about provenance. It's very in, isn't it? Everyone has on their menu how far away their ingredients come from. But this is 0 meters away. This is made from this bit of land. And it's unbelievable. Buono, 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 buono.
Sono magro, ma a mangiare già mangio io. Non
Sì.
che- È solo che faccio quel movimento, mica posso, certo che non credo che diventi obeso, no?
No, non è il rischio.
Non c'è quel pericolo.
No, no.
Cheers, salute.
Salute.
Ci ubriachiamo, mi sa, eh.
The mountainous Supramonte district where Cicciu lives is one of the poorest and most remote parts of Sardinia. So it's a real surprise to discover at the foot of these mountains a touch of glamour. This is Sul Gologone, an award-winning hotel where you can experience untouched Sardinia in luxury.
These rooms were designed in honour of the tradition of shepherding here, and there are so many references to where they used to live, what they used to wear, the fabrics. It's all very authentic, but it's also all done in extremely good taste.
The hotel began life as a simple trattoria built by Pepedu Palimode back in 1960 and is now a 68-bedroom retreat run by his daughter Giovanna.
I miei in qualche maniera hanno voluto proporre tutto ciò che la tradizione poteva, il territorio poteva offrire. Quindi qui tutto ciò che vedete è molto autentico, è molto legato alla cultura e alla tradizione sarda. Penso che non ci sia nessun'altra isola al mondo così.
So much of what you see is made right here on site in an effort to preserve some of Sardinia's age-old crafts. Visitors can even have a go at a few traditional recipes. And as a baker's wife, there's one Old Shepherd staple that I'm very interested in trying.
Pane Carazao is one of Sardinia's most enduring culinary traditions because it was so useful for the sheep herders, the goat herders. They would go for months on end away from villages, obviously carrying all their provisions with them. And this bread, because it's dried, can last up to 3 months. Questa è la parte più difficile.
Sì, ginturtu. Si chiama in sardo ginturtu.
The kneading is the hardest bit of this whole process. I know this from Marcus's bakery. It looks very simple. Looks like any idiot could do it. Believe you me, I'm one idiot who can't.
Così è la pallina.
Molto carina.
Sì. E poi io vado a schiacciare.
Sì, faccio così. Sempre in una direzione, giusto?
Fino ad arrivare alla fine. Così, poi si gira.
Sì, così. The important thing is to only ever do it in one direction and then you turn it and do it in the other direction. Grazie della vostra pazienza.
No, è bravissima.
This isn't as easy as it looks.
I am feeling the pressure. I'm going to be mocked at home for my technique.
Finally, after hours of resting, the dough is ready to be baked and it's quite a sight.
It's amazing because it starts off by bubbling up and it looks like a kind of disease. And then finally it blows up completely.
Vuole assaggiare?
Assaggio?
Sì.
Fresco dal forno?
Sì.
It's very thin, very crispy and quite easy to eat inordinate quantities of. Although it does last 3 months, this lady says there's nothing better than when it just comes out of the oven. Really, really good.
The more time I spend on this island, the more I realise how independent it feels from the rest of Italy.
It's interesting because Sardinia is even more regionalised than most bits of Italy. It's an island, but you go from place to place and there are different customs, different skills, different traditions, and they're all passionately being maintained. It's one of the things I love so much about being here, actually.
But I'm yet to discover some of the more curious traditions that are so unique to this isle. Most visitors never venture further than Sardinia's 2,000 kilometres of beguiling bays and beaches. But I think the real appeal of this island is in its ancient history. Sardinia is said to predate Italy itself. And mysterious evidence of man has existed here for thousands of years. More than 7,000 relics of prehistoric villages and tombs like this litter the landscape and are all easily accessible to visitors. Today, Sardinians affectionately regard these ancient burial chambers as fairy houses. Thanks to a history of isolation, some curious traditions are preserved on Sardinia. Some have even been afforded the protection of UNESCO in order to safeguard them. If you're visiting during one of the island's annual festivals, you may come across this mysterious form of folk music. It's known as canto a tenore, and it's another nod to the shepherd farming his flock. If you explore the southwestern corner of the island, Italy's oldest city, Sant'Antioco, can be found jutting out from the coast. Here there is a modest museum run by a local weaver named Chiara. She's allowed me to come and see her at work, but I'm interrupting her at my peril because some say she's a witch.
Maestro, sono Alex Polizzi. Piacere, grazie.
Piacere.
Chiara takes her art very seriously because this isn't any old thread she's weaving. She claims to be the last woman in the world to weave sea silk. It's rumoured that she's been offered billions for her work. She commands respect, and I need to watch my step.
La posso chiamare Chiara o devo...
Sì. O mi chiami Chiara o mi chiami Maestro.
This silky thread is called byssus, and it comes from huge saltwater clams.
Questo animale vive 25 anni, raggiunge altezze di 1,10 m, è il più grande bivalve mediterraneo, si chiama Pinna nobilis cetacea.
I'm amazed. So that is the mollusk that she spins this wonderful thread from.
It's a priceless material. At 60 years of age, Chiara has to dive 100 times in order to collect a mere 15 meters of thread.
Posso chiederla, maestro?
Sì.
Ha fatto questo lavoro tutta la vita?
Allora, ho cominciato a filare a 4 anni, a tessere a 12. Io sono la 30ª generazione nella mia famiglia. Questo
30ª, 30th.
Sì.
Giusto?
You have to hold and feel this delicate sea silk to even begin to comprehend just how precious it is.
Ce l'hai in mano?
Non ce l'ho in mano.
Sì che ce l'hai in mano.
It not only weighs nothing, but it feels like nothing. I would have sworn there was nothing on my hand.
After an awkward start, we seem to be getting along. Chiara's even letting me in on the secrets of her craft.
È magico.
Magico, filo magico. She's twisting it, and then with that, she's then spins it further into a Z shape. That's what she calls it.
Essere indemmane, tessere, tessere, filare, indemmoneare. Il novero, vita mia, e andare da in terra e cominciare a sa pazienza in save mina mancare. E il filo è fatto.
So that is the thread made, and now she has to do the magic bit.
Fatto. È magico. Tira.
Strano. It's amazing that she's made this thread in front of me.
E sono una vecchia strega io. E diciamo che sono una strega mancata, sopravvissuta al massacro.
Chiara's work isn't for sale, and I can understand why.
Isn't that beautiful? It would take 20 years to make a dress, the master says.
Perché per fare questo ci sono voluti 5 anni.
No. Took 5 years to make that.
Only presidents and popes have been deemed worthy recipients of her pieces.
She says she would never sell any of this, anything that she makes, because they are works of art that belong to the world, and so when they're ready, they're ready. Hurry has no place here.
It's not just the traditions that have aged well here. It's customary in Sardinia to toast with the words, "May you live to 100 years." And on this island, for some reason, many do. Astonishingly, there are currently 411 centenarians living here, more than anywhere else in the world. All of my grandparents lived to a ripe old age, so I've always believed this part of the world had something in its water. My curiosity has brought me to meet Angela and Pierino.
Buongiorno, Angela. Buongiorno. Sono Alex.
The island's official photographers of centenarians.
It's been a year since Angela and Pierino have had this project of photographing centenarians, and 3 or 4 times a week, he says, he's being called somewhere to take a photo of yet another one. Vediamo delle foto, allora?
Sì, certo.
Sì.
It's a portfolio like no other.
Questa è la signora più vecchia.
Sì, la più anziana della Sardegna. Queste sono 2 sorelle, tutte e 2 centenarie.
Che bello.
103 e 100. Sì.
Questa che età?
103.
103, li riconosci tutti?
Vabbè, qualcheduno c'ho. Sì, anche perché.
Questo signore è molto bello.
Sì. 105 quasi.
105 almost, this man. I mean, there are some quite astonishing photos here. People who look so hale and hearty. You wouldn't believe for a minute they're over 100. There's one guy here who's still a shepherd at the age of 100, still taking his sheep into pasture.
These photos give a sense of the strong family tradition that exists here.
Noi sentiamo particolarmente in Inghilterra che i vecchi sono quasi invisibili, che spariscono, che non hanno famiglie intorno. E non è così qui, non vero?
Così, sono circondate proprio dall'affetto dei familiari.
Old age is much more precious here. It's a matter of enormous pride if you manage to get to 100. It's a matter of pride for the family. Questa signora scicchissima.
Sì.
Una bisnonna è arrivata a 104 anni.
C'è ancora? C'è ancora?
No, adesso no.
Se no andava a fotografare.
Infatti mi
Dov'è il
dispiace.
problema?
Mi dispiace.
These images are heartwarming to see, but some of these folk are doing more than just enjoying old age, as I'm about to find out. They're helping science in a study that could one day affect us all. The Gennargentu is a vast area of granite mountainous country. It's a hiker's paradise. But my fascination with the number of centenarians in Sardinia has brought me to the tiny town of Lanusei. Because here, within an old schoolhouse, there is a world-leading laboratory full of gadgetry and scientists. A groundbreaking project named Progenia is underway, where the genes of local people are being studied to see if this region holds the answer to the way we age. Eduardo is one of the key scientists.
So, Eduardo, tell me about what you're doing here.
We are studying the aging of humans. We are a nice population to be studied for aging, for autoimmunity, and for longevity.
So you are studying the traits that lead to longevity?
Yes, so...
Or that contribute towards...
Yeah, that's right. This is the point.
Who will benefit from the research?
I mean, the entire population, the world population, because aging and problems related to aging...
affects everybody.
Yes, yes.
6,000 volunteers aged from 18 through to 105 undergo routine checkups. Eduardo and his fellow scientists are evaluating the way the aging process affects the immune system. It's mind-boggling stuff.
The fact that you have a large group of people here in this area who miraculously live to a great age means that you have a bigger pool of people to use as research.
Yeah, we are trying to collect their blood, their genetic information, and their immune system to define and to see why they are so
long-lived.
Yeah, so long-lived. Exactly, exactly.
It's incredibly important work that's happening. It's another world from that which I come from, and it's very interesting. I'm very proud of the fact I have 4 grandparents and none of them died under the age of 90.
Can I take your blood?
It's good though. I always think it must mean that I've got good genetic characteristics. Yeah. I think it's astonishing that such an important facility is in such a small place, and it's encouraged to happen here because of this particular genetic makeup of this island.
Who would have thought that this little town has the potential to impact on us all? Although Sardinia has a record-breaking number of centenarians, I didn't expect to be here just as it gained another. But as the final part of my journey takes me back towards Cagliari, I've come to the nearby town of Settimo San Pietro, where I've been invited to join photographers Pierino and Angela as they photograph one man's momentous day. It's an opportunity I'm certainly not going to miss.
This is our centenarian, Angelo, who's going in to celebrate with Mass in church. He's in good form for 100, isn't he? I was saying that we all want to look like that when we're 100. Maybe with slightly less facial hair, but otherwise exactly like that.
A te, Dio Padre Onnipotente, nell'unità dello Spirito Santo, ogni onore e gloria per tutti I secoli dei secoli. Amen. Ed ora resta con noi.
I used to go to Mass every Sunday with the rest of my family until I was 19. It is still something I enjoy doing today, whenever I get the opportunity.
That was really nice. It's very cheering to see a 100-year-old man surrounded by so many friends and family, by so much affection and goodwill. It's a long time since I've been to Mass and I've enjoyed it so much.
The entire town has turned out to mark the occasion, and the respect being shown for Angelo is incredibly moving.
There's a lovely cake. There's lots of people here to celebrate. A few people in traditional costume. He's a popular man. He's lived 100 years, may live 100 more. Auguri. Tanti auguri. Grazie dell'invito e tanti auguri. These are his great-grandchildren.
I can still clearly remember the celebrations when my own great-grandmother reached 100, with all of us grandchildren around her.
Being here in Sardinia obviously makes me think of my family and my beloved grandmother particularly, my nonna Polizzi, who I miss every single day of my life. She didn't make it to 100, I wish she'd had. It's a great comfort to me that she at least saw my daughter. I can only imagine how lovely it is for all these great-grandchildren to know their great-grandfather too. It's a really nice occasion.
And it's one that I consider myself very, very lucky to have been a part of.
Hospitable. I feel very Italian, not quite as Sardinian as maybe I should. Maybe it's part of my culture I should embrace a bit further.
Before I leave Sardinia, I receive some welcome news about my own Sardinian family. Salvatore from the Archive Registry has made a discovery about my darling nonna.
This is the end of my Sardinian journey. But this is where my grandmother Polizzi's journey began. This is where she was born. And I thought I'd make a pilgrimage just to have one last contact with my nonna.
I've left behind Sardinia's vast landscapes in search of some of Italy's smaller islands. There are many more lesser-known discoveries off the mainland, begging to be explored, each one distinctly different. From the exclusive shores of Ischia in the Bay of Naples, to the remote Aeolian islands of Salina, and finally Filicudi, a place that will always be special to me. But first I'm heading to a legendary idyll, the sun-kissed glamour of Capri. To me, this is the original island retreat.
Capri is well known as a magnet for intellectuals, artists, film stars, writers. It started off as a fishing village and it has become much, much more than that.
It's a place I'm longing to explore more. As a child, my grandfather would take us out on his boat, but he hated mooring here. I can remember my excitement at being allowed once to stop for ice cream.
Capri is known as the most glamorous of all the Italian islands. I haven't been here for years. When I was last here, I think it was very different for how it is today.
Capri has been famous as a summer holiday destination since Roman times, with its attractive blend of mythical history, glitz and relaxed Mediterranean rhythms, all a stone's throw from the mainland. But the island's golden years were the 1950s and 60s, when the Hollywood jet set descended for work and for pleasure. It was a haven for the likes of Brigitte Bardot, Elizabeth Taylor and Clark Gable. For a bijou island just 4 miles long, the beguiling limestone cliffs of Capri still manage to seduce the rich and famous. Super yachts glide in and out of the most expensive marina in Italy, and the streets gleam with designer shop fronts. But among the big labels, there's one original store that all of Hollywood's glitterati have been to over the years, a place that epitomizes Capri's glamour.
I'm at the world-famous Camphora of Capri. For someone who loves shoes like me, this is an institution, because it was here from when Capri was a fishing village, and it's still owned by the same family.
Pop into this modest shop and you'll discover a family at work. Costanzo is at the helm today, making sandals the same way his grandfather did nearly 70 years ago.
My grandfather started the business in 1946, and he had the idea to make a sandal that was not only leather, but bejeweled with corals, with stones, so making what is now called the Capri sandals.
Amadeo set the standard for sandal making and garnered quite a reputation.
I know, obviously, your lips have to be sealed about your current customers, but what about some of the ones who are no longer with us?
Well, think about Jacqueline Kennedy. My grandfather made sandals for her, and the first time she came, it was midnight, and the store was open only for her.
How chic.
Everybody, from Grace Kelly to Princess Margaret, coveted these made-to-measure sandals.
So why do you think you have managed to survive as a business when so many others have gone by the wayside?
Because of the passion we used to make our work. My grandfather gave this passion to his daughters and then to us.
That's beautiful.
Why don't you try them all?
Shall I?
I thought he'd never ask.
They are lovely.
So if you wait 10 minutes, we're gonna make for you.
Thank you. How exciting.
These sandals can cost up to €400, but sometimes you just have to indulge.
It's only in Italy that you get a bespoke sandal made. Goodness. So chic to think that I'm treading in the footsteps of Jackie Kennedy. Che belli. Thank you very much. I'm absolutely thrilled with them. I do feel very Capri glamorous.
During summer, Capri heaves with tourists arriving by ferry from nearby Naples, all wanting to experience this millionaire's playground. But behind the glitz and glamour, a community of 12,000 Caprese still live here and work here all year round. And some of them are involved in a crucial project. As much of Capri is inaccessible by car, I'm taking the Carellino up into the hills to a little-known beauty spot overlooking the port. I've come to meet a group that call themselves Capri is Mine Too.
Buongiorno. Buongiorno. Cerco Tonino.
These volunteers are reclaiming the island's heritage. They've been unearthing Capri's lost treasures and restoring them for the locals and tourists to enjoy once again.
Salve, Tonino.
Ciao.
Dai.
Come stai? Benvenuta a Villa Fersen.
Che bello!
Questo è uno spettacolo.
Tonino, the group's founder, is a Caprese who's seen his island's beauty gradually decay.
Come ti sei coinvolto in tutto questo?
Sì, no, una mattina io e mia moglie eravamo andati a fare footing.
Sì.
E allora in un belvedere dall'altra parte dell'isola. E a terra c'erano dei rifiuti in questo. Allora Questo belvedere guastava con tutta la bellezza. Non era possibile questo.
It only took 15 minutes to transform this place, and so he decided then and there that they had to start reclaiming Capri and the bits that had been left abandoned, and it's amazing the kind of support that he's managed to garner by the community.
A 40-strong team have now joined Tonino in his crusade to restore buildings like this one, the glorious Villa Fersen.
Che bella entrata.
Magnifica.
Built by a French baron who was living in exile on the island, the magnificent 7-bedroom villa and its sweeping views were left to ruin until recently. Mimi is the oldest of the group, who, by the way, turns 80 today.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
When Mimi was young, these gardens were like a playground.
E io ricordo, io sono cresciuto qua dentro.
After the Count died, his sister inherited it. And once a year she would throw a party and they would invite all the children of the area.
E giocavamo con la corsa nei sacchi, sa?
Sì, sì.
Poi con un cucciaino, con la pallina di tennis.
Sì, sì.
Ah, tutti questi giochi con tanti dolciumi.
And 70 years on, not much has changed.
Si può scendere dopo?
My encounter with this island is brief, and yet I've managed to discover the two very different and equally charming sides to Capri.
Grazie, grazie, grazie.
Obviously, there's more to Capri than meets the eye. A casual visitor would never know how much is happening here. They might arrive at the port, come off, have an ice cream, get back on the boat again. But there's a real community here, and they're all incredibly proud of their island. It shows, look what they're prepared to do to preserve the natural beauties of it.
It's been 20 years since my last visit, but it won't be that long until my next. But Capri is just the beginning of my island adventure. Capri has a big sister in the Bay of Naples, a more rugged, less discovered island, one that might not be as famous, but is considered by many to be even more beautiful.
This is Ischia. I don't know it very well. I haven't been here since I was a child. I'd only ever come with my grandfather on his boat and only ever went ashore to buy food. I'm looking forward to exploring it more.
You can reach Ischia from Naples in just 40 minutes, and yet day trippers often overlook this volcanic island. But the absence of crowds makes it a delight to explore. There are peaceful towns, sleepy harbours, and world-famous healing thermal baths. Ischia is known as the Green Island of the Mediterranean because of its abundant flora. Blessed with a mild and dry climate, parts of it feel like a horticultural paradise. And right at the centre of it all is what I think is Ischia's biggest attraction, one of the most enchanting gardens in Europe. La Mortella was the masterpiece of 20th century English composer Sir William Walton and his Argentinian wife Susanna. The couple moved here from England in 1949 to reawaken William's musical senses. Alessandra is the head gardener here and was a great friend of the late Lady Walton.
She always said William needed a place where he could find rest and also resolve his composition problems. So she created the lower garden to create, she used the word a cocoon for him, a place where he could really find inspiration for his music. I think this garden really reflects the personality of Susanna, and it is full of passion, full of love. It is a story of love, and it shows in every corner. Every plant for her was worth her attention, her love, and her care. And this is a great, great lesson.
Here you will find rare tropical plants and dense leafy foliage thriving around spectacular fountains. The Waltons certainly left their mark on this island.
They made Ischia their own. And without sounding too ridiculously romantic, there is still a feeling of enormous affection that remains here.
Given the sea all around it, you'd expect the culinary highlight of this island to be fish. But to find out the real story, you have to go completely off the beaten track, into the pine-forested hills, where you'll discover an Ischian institution.
Hi.
Hi, welcome
Thank
to my
you.
focolare.
Very
Please,
nice, thank
sit
you.
down.
Thank you so much.
Trattoria Il Focolare, run by Riccardo, is a restaurant beloved by locals and frequented by tourists and celebrities, all keen to try the historic dish of the island, coniglio, or as we understand it, rabbit.
I'm really interested because this is an island, obviously, and yet rabbit is one of the dishes of the island.
It sounds strange,
Yes, it does.
but it's not. Every island
Has a different identity.
rabbit is tradition and typical food on my island, and nobody must say the opposite.
It's a real family affair here.
Are all your children involved in the business?
Yes, I have 6 girls and 2 boys.
Chapeau, chapeau.
Chapeau, chapeau. 2 boys are in the kitchen. Sylvia, the eldest, is agronomist.
Sylvia farms their own rabbits from caves here, the free-range way, before they are used in a traditional recipe.
It's a dish that I love. I'm so excited because I never eat rabbit at home.
5 ingredients: tomato, wine, garlic, spices.
What spices? Sorry. I'm sorry. And how silly of
And
me.
there is the secret.
The secret.
There is the suspension, the suspense.
Yes, of course.
This dish connects 4 generations of Riccardo's family.
Delicious. I'm so excited.
There's an etiquette to eating rabbit that even I knew nothing about.
All the pieces of the rabbit are all different.
Everybody at the table had their specific part of the rabbit, according to their standing.
Now I give you the best, not the best, the most important, patriarca.
What piece is this?
È la coscia di dietro.
It's the backside.
The best.
Thigh.
The more
Back
important.
So may I try?
Yes.
Con le dita?
Bravo, brava, brava.
Buono.
Buonissimo.
It's absolutely delicious. I love anything you get to eat with your fingers, partly because it's sexy, and partly because you just feel closer to the production of it.
Since ever we cook in this way.
It's worth the wait, but there's a sting in the tail to this ancient peasant dish.
Now, attention to what
Yes.
I'm going to say,
Yes.
that because it could sound not elegant, not nice, but it's true in the peasant family. Lady,
Ate last. I didn't eat rabbit at all.
they didn't eat.
Thankfully, Riccardo doesn't turn away his female diners. But he has managed to maintain a passion for preserving this dish that's so unique to Ischia. A short bus ride from the port is Ischia Ponte, a seaside settlement that is the favoured place to stay for many tourists. And dominating this part of the island is Ischia's most visited attraction, Perched on a rocky islet is the medieval Aragonese Castle. Walking across its bridge feels like a journey back to the Middle Ages. You can spend hours exploring the relics of centuries of foreign occupation. And if you visit the crypt of the old cathedral, you may come across a team of women who are at work restoring its ancient frescoes. And that's because this isn't just a castle. This is the European Institute of Restoration. Here, visitors can marvel at some of the world's oldest and most important historical artifacts being lovingly restored.
Buongiorno, Annalisa.
Buongiorno e benvenuti all'Istituto Europeo del Restauro.
Piacere.
Annalisa has been here since the first precious cargo arrived.
Allora, cosa stanno facendo qui?
Allora, le nostre ragazze adesso stanno ritoccando questo dipinto su tavola.
Watching this very, very calm procedures and these beautiful ladies. I mean, this is what you'd like to imagine restoration to be like. I'm sure it isn't always.
Relics from all over Europe arrive here each year to undergo months of painstaking restoration.
Quindi sta cercando di ultimare e di rimuovere questa ridipintura che c'era sotto la decorazione originale.
This is from the 1600s. It's very exciting. It gives me shivers of excitement. Tutte donne qui.
Tutte donne, quasi tutte donne.
Perché c'è un maschio da qualche parte che nascondete.
Nei sarcofagi.
The only man here is in the sarcophagus. They're only women because women are more patient and more delicate and more dedicated, have a greater eye for detail.
Who would ever have thought this unassuming and unpretentious island would play such a significant role in world history?
Senti una grande responsabilità.
Un grandissimo senso di responsabilità. Tale che non ci fa dormire di notte.
She says she has such a sense of responsibility that she can barely sleep at night. So exciting to hear this. I mean, I've got nothing to do with this world, but I feel very, very privileged to be here.
Wow! Grazie mille.
It's amazing coming to this castle. I didn't expect to be as impressed as I am. But once again, it's an example of the passion that Ischia inspires, I suppose.
And I didn't expect Ischia to leave such an impression on me. The Bay of Naples has been fascinating, but perhaps the least known islands of all still lie ahead. I've travelled south to Sicily's northeastern coast and the tip of Italy's toe, where the Aeolian Islands lie. The 7 remote islands are Italy's best-kept secret, a UNESCO-protected piece of paradise.
The Aeolian Islands are kind of the last frontier of Italy. So few people know and visit here. Even for Italians, they're pretty unknown, partly because they're so hard to get to.
I often made the long journey here during my years of living in Rome with my boyfriend at the time.
It is an effort to get here, but when you do, you are amply repaid. It's incredibly unspoilt, incredibly beautiful. You feel like you're coming somewhere incredibly special and somewhere secret and magical.
Some of these islands still remain a mystery to me.
I'm on Salina, very different from the others. It stays green all year round. Feels very fertile and very alive, very powerful.
Salina, shaped by 2 extinct volcanoes, is the only island in the archipelago to have its own natural freshwater springs. This, combined with its volcanic soil, makes for exceptional growing conditions. It's a trait that the island is famous for, and the produce grown here deserves to be explored. Clara is a proud Salinara who knows every bit of this island.
So, Clara, you're from this island?
Yes, I was born here in Malfa, in Salina.
What has kept you all these years? Why have you never left?
It's so beautiful. How can you live?
I didn't know Salina before. This is the first time I've been here, and it strikes me that this is so fertile. It's so green compared to the other islands.
Yes, it is. Here always there's been a lot of agriculture, and we have more than 7 vineyards. They make a beautiful wine.
E poi per le scuole.
E poi c'è l'aliscafo degli studenti che tutti.
Clara's taking me to meet Enrico, who spent his life working the rugged terrain of this hillside vineyard.
È giovane, come sale.
Guarda la gioventù.
È un terreno difficile da piantare perché è così ripido.
Sì, ma diciamo, sì, ma per noi è facile, non è difficile.
Apparently this is nothing because in the old days they used to go all the way up the mountainside, the vineyards, and they used to work them just with a spade before even a tractor was involved. So he thinks that this is all child's play.
There is a glut of ingredients to be found here, but the one I'm really interested in is a certain type of vine that produces a very special wine called Malvasia.
The prosperity of Salina is built upon
Yes,
Malvasia.
yes, it is.
No?
It was from the 18th century because they have many sailing boats and they were exporting Malvasia all over the world.
Nothing tells the historical story of Salina better than this sweet wine, which reversed Salina's fortunes as a dirty, poor island. It was discovered by British soldiers fighting Napoleon who couldn't get enough of this tipple. Suddenly, the island was a thriving agricultural hub and you couldn't move for vineyards.
Perché cresce qui la Malvasia particolarmente?
Ho qualcosa nella terra che il vigneto di Malvasia, non il vigneto, il sapore, la qualità.
Enrico produces about 20,000 bottles of Malvasia wine a year. And for about £15, you can take one home to enjoy.
Possiamo provare?
Sì, aspetta, apriamo.
Well, hard work deserves reward.
Cin cin.
Cin cin?
Cin cin.
Grazie. Very, very smooth and not too sweet. And look at this beautiful colour.
Io non posso bere assai perché...
Sì, si fa girare la testa. Mezza bottiglia di questo. Oh.
Si va a dormire.
Malvasia is the triumph of Salina, but it's no longer all that the island's prosperity is built upon. Walkers hiking around the island will notice an abundance of caper trees. Some say the ones grown here are the best in the world. The islanders even celebrate the fact each year with a festival dedicated to this precious little bud. The caper plantations here are fascinating. Taking the reins from his great-grandfather's business, Roberto Rossello manages this one, near the stunning Bay of Polara.
Roberto?
Piacere.
Alex.
Ciao.
Wow, l'odore è incredibile.
Sì.
Tante capperi, tanti.
The caper might seem like a humble ingredient, but astonishingly there are over 130 varieties. Every summer, Roberto has to preserve his entire year's harvest, which takes an inordinate quantity of salt.
E sono mangiabili adesso?
Sono da dissalare, perché
Sì.
in questo momento hanno una grossa percentuale di sale, però in realtà è quasi tutto a perdere, perché comunque la salamoia che poi genera il cappero è da levare e solo circa il 15% resterà poi all'interno del cappero.
For the cook, that's still a lot of salt, but Roberto has the best advice to share.
Un giorno?
Un giorno circa.
That's something else I didn't know, that before using them, you shouldn't just rinse them, you should soak them for a day and change the water 3 or 4 times. I've never done that.
It's not often that you get to see how produce makes its way from picking to plate. And after this, I'll spare a thought for poor Roberto.
Una curiosità, una cosa molto particolare che quasi nessuno sa,
che durante le prime settimane, quando i capperi stanno fermentando, emanano dei vapori che fanno effetto cipolla. Quindi tutto il periodo della raccolta qua si piange che è un piacere.
So he spends the whole of the first part of the summer sobbing in this room, crying his eyes out.
Agriculture dominates day-to-day life here, and even though it is the second largest of the Aeolian Islands, much of Salina happily still feels untouched by tourism. But among the vineyards, it is possible to find a glamorous retreat that caters to the more discerning traveller. In the peaceful village of Malfa, in the heart of Salina, is Hotel Signum, a collection of farmhouses that blends old and new.
It feels as if this hotel perfectly fits the place. It's quite stark and minimalist without being in any way modernist. There's lovely terraces and all of it bleached out by this pretty unforgiving sun.
But aside from the beautiful simplicity of its decor, the hotel has managed to make use of the island's produce in every conceivable way.
They've also made, with their local capers, a caper body scrub, a face mask, a face serum and a body lotion. I'm going to try the face mask.
Never let it be said that I'm not game.
This feels it's sorry, guys. Also, completely without being able to see what I'm doing. How do I look? I feel devastatingly sexy at the moment.
I never for one moment imagined I'd be sampling the therapeutic benefits of capers.
How do I look? Oh, well, my skin feels incredibly soft and doesn't smell too much of capers, so it's all to the good.
But perhaps you need to be a die-hard caper lover to try one of the hotel's signature desserts, caper ice cream.
Ciao. Ciao, ecco per te il gelato al cappero di Salina.
Grazie.
Prego.
I'm not sure whether I'm looking forward to this, but I can only give it a go. Interesting. Slightly bizarre. Capers are an acquired taste. I don't know if I've quite acquired enough of a taste to have caper ice cream.
The ice cream was a new experience for me. In fact, the whole of Salina has helped me see these islands from a new perspective.
I've been so surprised by what I've seen today here in Salina. I've heard of it as the Green Island, but I didn't expect it to be this green, this fertile. However, over there, that heavily pregnant sleeping lady, that's my Aeolian Island. That's Filicudi. I haven't been there for 14 years, and I can't wait to get back.
It's a mere 20-minute journey across the cobalt blue seas to my final destination, Filicudi. But in truth, it feels like another world.
I mean, it's not very far away from civilization, but it feels like the outer edge of the known world. Here there be dragons.
I spent many summers here during my younger years with my boyfriend at the time.
When I lived in Rome, and I lived with Luca, this was where he used to take his holidays, and this was the view that I used to have breakfast to in the mornings. It's very strange to be back.
Much has changed in my life since I was last on Filicudi. but standing here now evokes some reassuringly familiar feelings.
I definitely feel the same magic as I used to feel on this island. I was very, very happy whenever I came to Filicudi, and I'm very, very happy now. So, to that extent, I do feel exactly the same.
I couldn't come to Filicudi without returning to one of my favourite spots on the island, Pecorini a Mare.
These amazing creatures are called velelle, and they're from the jellyfish family. And here the locals fry them and eat them, and they also eat them raw. They taste like the sea. I love this beach. I love how smooth the stones are. I've got a stack of these in London, and I'm going to take another one home this time.
I whiled away many an afternoon at this remote little spot.
That was my favourite restaurant 14 years ago. We used to come here all the time for raw fish. It's just charming. It doesn't try too hard. The surroundings are incredible, and particularly out of season. Why would you want to be anywhere else?
Here, a speciality is the most simple, yet sublime, almond spaghetti.
I'm really looking forward to eating here again. I can't believe it's been 14 years since I last sat here.
Prego, spaghetti alle mandorle.
Grazie.
Prego.
Mmm. This is a local dish again. I don't think you'd eat it anywhere else in the world. I remember why I like this place so much.
I've always felt that you can truly switch off from life on Filicudi. Houses are few and far between. Electricity and water only arrived on the island 30 years ago. And even today, when storms lash down, the locals are prone to days of isolation from the rest of the world. But for some of the residents here, that sense of detachment is the real appeal.
Filicudi, in a way, feels quite lawless, as if you can do anything you want. Just the fact that so few people live here. There's only about 250, 300 people live here all year round, and it's a big island. It attracts people who are trying to escape from the ordinary run of the world.
People like local artist Marina. 25 years ago, she came to Filicudi in search of an escape from the chaos and corruption of her home in Naples.
Che vista!
Eh sì, oggi è veramente bello.
And she found it in a cave.
Che bello che è, però. Hai fatto un lavoro incredibile. How much work did this take?
Years.
Years.
Everything here has been fashioned from Marina's bare hands.
And I love all your lights. Questa è molto bella. Anche questa, I love this.
I made them, it's my job. I prefer to use a piece of something that I find around in the island, on the beach or also in the mountain.
So everything you have in here, you brought up that path, up the steps. You must be so fit.
Yes, in the years.
Over the years.
But it's not just energy you need. I think it takes a certain strength of character to live here.
The first 4 months I was without electricity. And then after 10 years, finally I had water.
You must need to like your own company.
I learned.
You learned to be happy
Yes.
with your own company.
Yeah.
Lesson for us all. I must say, romantic though the idea is, I'm so glad I'm not living there. I wouldn't last a year schlepping up and down this path. It's a lovely idea, but not for me.
For the adventurous traveller, it's possible to experience the wild beauty of this island from the water. And if you're lucky, you may be treated to a rare sight. Monica is a marine biologist. She runs a rescue unit for marine turtles. But she also runs boat trips for those hoping to explore the abundance of sea life here.
Ciao Monica. Nice to meet you. I'm Alex.
Io sono Monica.
Ci sono tantissime meduse, mamma mia.
The Aeolian Islands are colonised by dolphins, but Monica is researching a species that is rarely seen here, the bottlenose.
Fingers crossed that we see them today.
It's been a year since you last caught sight of these creatures, so I'm not holding out too much hope. Only 38 bottlenose dolphins exist around all the Aeolian Islands, making them an endangered species. Sadly, this doesn't feel like it's going to be our day.
We didn't find dolphins today, but boat is still the best way to see Filicudi. In fact, it's the best way to see any island as far as I'm concerned.
But just as we've given up hope, Monica spots something.
Ah, eccoli laggiù. Lo vedi? Laggiù.
Yay! Woo!
Wow! Wow! Sono turziomi! Yeah, wonderful! They are my dolphins. It's very rare to see them while I see you before. Yeah.
Gosh, there's lots of them.
Astonishingly, Monica can identify every one of these dolphins from their distinctive dorsal fins.
Oh, look, it's just there.
You are very lucky.
I can't believe how calm they are and how many there are of them all together. It's really, really exciting. It's amazing. Gosh. Well, I didn't think we were going to get to see this, so I feel very, very lucky.
Sorry for my click.
Clicking away with her camera, she can't believe it either. I've seen dolphins before, but I've never seen so many all so close. These are just hanging out.
I can think of few other mornings in my life like this one.
You could tell from Monica's excitement how rare it is to see bottlenose dolphins. She said she hadn't seen them for a year. That's why she took photo after photo after photo. I feel incredibly lucky to have been with her when she saw them again. Feels like a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
It's been incredible travelling around Italy's minor islands. Spending time on these much smaller, very distinctive communities has just strengthened my belief that island life is unique.
I think it takes a particular kind of person to live on an island. It's a life of extremes. It's a life of extreme beauty and extreme solitude and wild, stormy seas. I've seen an enormous amount of community spirit and passion and pride on every island I've been, which is admirable. You have to make your own society on an island, and that's something that it would be nice to replicate elsewhere.
And to see me off, Filicudi is treating me to a spectacular sight.
Absolutely incredible. I still love this place, and I still think it's got something so special about it that nowhere else I've ever been in the world can touch.
My island escapade has brought me to Sicily, the largest island in the Mediterranean, mystical and ancient, Sicily is a crossroads of cultures where the East meets the West. When I was a student, I rented a car and travelled the island with a friend. It was a magical journey. This time, I'm travelling across the north, from the bustling and bewitching city of Palermo, inland to the little-known Gangi, recently crowned the prettiest village in Italy, ending up on the east coast and the ancient and beautiful city of Syracuse. But I'm starting in the island's enigmatic capital, Palermo.
I absolutely love Palermo. There's a lot of urban sprawl, but there's so much beauty.
It's the 5th most populated city in Italy. Around 1.2 million people call this hot and humid city home. With an international airport, Palermo is easily accessible from anywhere in the world. But when you reach its city centre, its hive of chaotic streets and dishevelled buildings can seem intimidating to even the most hardy traveller.
It's a slightly scary city if you've never been here before, but it repays bounteously all your patience and investment because there's so much to discover. It's one of the great cities of Europe, and any opportunity to come here is a good one.
A melting pot of history and culture, Palermo is like a beautiful dame in decay. It may not have the splendour of Florence or the romance of Rome, but Palermo has so much to offer, like the iconic Teatro Massimo. This colossal theatre is the largest in Italy and the 3rd largest in Europe. But it's when you head into its honeycomb of side streets that you find the real surprises. And perhaps the most beguiling is Palazzo Gangi. From the outside, you would have no idea of what lies behind this unassuming door. Yet inside is the most sumptuous private residence in Sicily, or maybe the whole of Europe. A masterpiece of the Baroque style, the palazzo was constructed in the 18th century by the Prince and Princess of Gangi. It's still owned by the same family today. On appointment, the current owner, Princess Karine, opens her doors to the public. But today, I'm lucky to have been granted my own private view.
Well, this is what I call a ballroom. People come to Palermo just to come to Palazzo Gangi, and looking at this, you can really understand why. It transports you back to a completely different world. It's very seductive. What's astonishing is the family have spent 20 years restoring this place with no state aid. It is a labour of love, and that is evident everywhere you turn. Good Lord. Look at this. It's not often that a room can leave me breathless, but this room, apparently it was designed as a forest of gold. Look at that chandelier. It's got 102 arms. Imagine trying to clean it. I had heard that this was one of the treasures of Sicily, but you know what? I don't think I was quite expecting this. I've never seen a room like it. This is Versailles on a domestic scale. I want to party in here. I do, I want to, what can I say, except I've got room envy.
the history of this city is not just evident in its precious palazzos and grand crumbling churches. As a city that has survived centuries of raids, invasions and conquests, it can also be found in the food that's sold on its streets. Salvatore is a street food connoisseur.
Why is street food so important to Palermo?
The main and the first reason was the best way to feed the most poor part of the population. Actually, Palermo is the first city in Europe for street food.
No.
And the number 5 in the world.
Salvatore likens Palermo to the layers of a lasagna, each one a different foreign influence. The Arabs ruled Sicily for centuries, and they have left a lasting culinary legacy here in Palermo.
This is one of the most important places for street food in Palermo. Here you can find like the best chickpeas fried of the city.
Salvatore has brought me to Franco Uvastidaro, a bar that sells chickpea fritters, a cheap and hugely popular snack in this city.
This is an easy way into street food.
Just a few seconds in the oil.
Lovely, thank you so much.
The lemon is really important. You will see it's always the last step in our street food culture because it's gonna disinfect the food just before you're gonna eat.
This is made with just chickpea flour.
And salt. The key of like street food is in Palermo it's a few ingredients.
Simplicity.
Simplicity.
It's lovely.
Another Arabic speciality that you'll see the locals feasting on is arancini, giant fried rice balls. Arancini means little oranges in Sicilian, and these hefty globes can be found all over Palermo. But Salvatore says the best ones are here at Bar Touring in the city centre.
Okay, so what are the rules about making arancini?
You're gonna put the meat in the center, like the heart of the dish. Then you're gonna cover the meat with the rice. And then you fry it for a few seconds in the oil. But in this bar, the best way that they found is use a lard to fry it. And you will see, it's so delicious because
Right, lard. This is not going to be a dietetic meal. I can tell.
no, totally not, actually. No. Thank you.
Buon appetito.
Grazie. So, the meat in the center, then the rice, and the shell.
It's lovely.
The arancini here weigh close to half a kilo.
My goodness. Eat one of these and I don't think you'd be moving very far, very fast the rest of the day.
The final stop on our gastronomic tour of Palermo is not for the faint-hearted. This is not your typical Italian food.
Here we are talking about spleen sandwich, which is like the king of our street food. At some point, a lot of Jewish came here in Sicily. They not only created the street food, but they also create the way to cook the street food in the street. Recently, this sandwich won the title of the best street food of Italy, and the chef, Nino, when he prepares a sandwich, he will dance.
Nino is legendary here in Palermo. His bar is the place to eat spleen sandwich, but to eat it, you need a strong stomach.
What goes in there?
Inside we have 3 different organs: lung, tongue, and spleen.
And it's lung, tongue, and spleen because they're cheap parts of a cow.
Exactly. So this is Palermo in a bite. We left you without words.
Tastes delicious.
I think I agree with Salvatore. It is Palermo in a bun. Unusual, edgy, but well worth the risk. And I'm about to take another as I discover Palermo's dark side. It's impossible to take a historical tour of Palermo and do it justice without exploring its dark and sinister side. For Sicily is the motherland of the mafia, and the spectre of La Cosa Nostra has long since haunted the streets of this city. But as the mafia's grip on Sicily loosens, you can feel Palermo emerging from the shadows of its ugly past. This shift can be traced back to one brave man, the anti-mafia judge Giovanni Falcone. He lost his life fighting the scourge of the mafia. As you drive through the north of the city, you may come across a strange makeshift shrine to Falcone. In front of the house where he lived is a tree of devotion, where the people of Palermo pay their personal respects to this most beloved son of the city.
When Falcone died in 1992, there were shockwaves around the world. It had been quite easy to think of the mafia until then as something that existed in The Godfather, and they were made slightly glamorous. But this, in fact, was the reality, that someone who was fighting so hard to bring kind of honour back into the judicial system here was brutally murdered. I think we all felt that there was an innocence that died that day, and that we had to face the reality that was modern Italy.
Messages of solidarity and remembrance hang from the Falcone tree. It's a touching memorial.
I was 22 when Falcone died, and in my family we talked about him a lot and about what he was trying to do with Italy. And it was a source of honour that he was so brave and so determined, so fearless. There's never enough people like that in the world. There were a lot of tears when he died. I think it was a moment of real shock for Italy and for Italians all over the world.
The assassination was retaliation for the mobsters Falcone had put behind bars. Most visitors travelling into Palermo will drive the fateful journey that Falcone took that day. He was killed in Capri, on a stretch of the motorway between the airport and the city. He was travelling with his wife and 3 bodyguards when his Fiat Croma was obliterated by a huge bomb placed beneath the road. A mafia hitman detonated the bomb as the car drove over it. The explosion made a crater 30 feet in diameter.
That's where the mafioso who blew up that stretch of road was hiding, waiting and watching for Falcone's car. They had meticulously planned this whole operation, and it was done to show the might of the mafia.
These pillars designate the exact spot where it happened.
It was such a big explosion. It was amazing that it didn't decimate more people.
The killing didn't stop with Falcone. Paolo Borsellino, his closest collaborator and dearest friend, was also brutally murdered. These shocking events left an indelible mark on the people of the city.
The nice thing is that Falcone and Borsellino are remembered daily in the lives of Palermitani because they are hero worshipped by generations.
But alongside its more sobering sights, the city today is proud to show its visitors how the tide is turning against organised crime. From their office in Palermo, a group of idealistic young Sicilians run a grassroots movement called Addio Pizzo. Pizzo is a Sicilian slang for the protection money that the mafia managed to extort from about 80% of small businesses in Palermo. This group's bold idea is to cut off that supply, which reportedly provides mafia in southern Italy an estimated 20 billion euros a year. In a quiet park in the city, I'm meeting Eduardo, a co-founder of the organisation.
Eduardo, Salve.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Sono Alex.
For his guided tour of some of the businesses who have bravely stood up and said no to the mafia.
Adio Pizzo was born in 2004, so it's more than 10 years ago now. And it was born because of a group of young people who had a fantastic idea to print some stickers with an anti-mafia slogan and to pepper the town basically by night in order to push the people to be aware of one of the main problems of Palermo. It's the protection money, so it's the system of extortion run by the mafia. When the mafia killed the prosecutors, Falcone and
Borsellino.
Yes, with the bombs, I was a teenager. Our generation was shocked by what happened. So somehow this event really was a turning point for our generation in particular. And as soon as someone had the idea of the stickers, someone had the idea of doing something for this town, we were there. We felt that it was our turn to do something.
But it was when the campaign reached out to consumers that it really gained momentum.
Basically, it works like, you know, those signs, beware to the dog, you know? So it's like, pay attention. If you dare to get inside and try to get the money from us, we will report you to the police immediately. So basically, the mafia stay away from the shops that has this sign on it. It's a declaration, it's a statement. Here, we don't pay protection money, we don't pay pizzas, we are not contributing to the mafia.
So they know that when they come here, they're definitely not a penny of what's going towards them is going to the mafia. It's very clever.
Thank you.
Today you can eat, shop and sleep in over 1,000 establishments that have signed up to the Anti-Extortion Charter.
We had proof that the mafia is scared of the people who have the courage to stay together and rebel. Because some mafiosi, after being arrested, actually confessed that the mafia want to stay away from the Adio Pizzo shop.
Ah,
yes.
very good. That's a good sign, isn't it?
Yes, yes. They were like a sort of testimonial.
Luckily for me, my fascination with this courageous movement has brought my tour of Palermo around to one of my favourite subjects, fashion. Because one of the first companies to commit to the Adio Pizzo movement happens to be a cooperative of ladies who lovingly stitched together a legendary Sicilian hat. The coppola goes back to peasant times, but in the 1930s this humble hat was claimed by mafiosi, who wore it twisted to the side. From its headquarters in the hills just outside Palermo, La Coppola Storta is striving to repair its damaged reputation and reinvent the coppola for a new generation. The driving force of their ambition is head stylist Tindara. Her shop in the centre of Palermo is full of coppolas of all styles, fabrics and colours.
Tindara? Ciao, sono Alex Polizzi. Salve, come stai?
Bene. Hai visto il nostro mondo? Il mondo della coppola.
I know, it's amazing.
La coppola è un copricapo simbolo del costume siciliano da tanti anni. Ha una storia molto antica che purtroppo nel tempo è caduta ed è diventata uno stereotipo di una cultura deteriore che non appartiene alla Sicilia. All'estero spesso è vista come un simbolo di mafia, era vista, mi piace dire. E come noi diciamo sempre, se la porta Filippo di Edimburgo è un gran signore, se la porta un siciliano è un mafioso. Questo noi abbiamo voluto cambiare veramente.
So I have to laugh because, you know, the coppola, the shape of this hat came from Great Britain. She's very proud of the fact that although this was stereotypically a man's hat and it denoted a certain kind of person, now they produce almost as many hats for women as they do for men, and it has become a fashion item. Voglio provare qualche cappello, posso?
Ti posso provare subito.
I want to try some.
questo era il modello catanese.
Oh God, that's really fun. I love this fabric. È bello colorato.
Gone are the serious and muted shades of the coppola. Now designs of every colour and pattern emblazon these hats.
Rosso è carino.
Sì.
I like it.
For around €50, it's possible to take home a hand-stitched piece of Sicilian history.
E poi me lo dai. Thank you.
Una è sempre elegante.
Oh, this is definitely the one for me.
È proprio, questo mi sembra il tuo stile.
Il mio stile.
Assolutamente.
Perfect. I've been really inspired by what I found out about Palermo this afternoon and the people who are trying so hard to change the stereotypes that have bedeviled this island for so long. Sicily is no longer that land of the mafia myth. There is a lot more to it than that.
As I'm about to discover as I head inland to the remote and wild Sicilian interior. I'm heading inland from the delights of Palermo to the mountainous Sicilian interior and the gorgeous town of Gangi. Only a few hours' drive from the capital, this remote region is breathtakingly beautiful. You'll see wide-open vistas of bountiful fields, dramatic rocky outcrops and picturesque villages like this one that cling impossibly to the hillsides.
When people come to Sicily, they tend to stick to the coast, and it's a great shame that these parts are as yet relatively undiscovered. They really repay a little bit of time and energy because they're so unspoilt. It's absolutely stunning.
There are any number of beautiful villages nestled here in the mountains, but there's one place I had to see. As you approach it, the hilltop town of Gangi literally cascades down the hillside. It's a sight to behold. But this town is more than meets the eye. Here, one innovative mayor has orchestrated the complete transformation of Gangi's fortunes.
Signor Sindaco, sono Alex Polizzi, piacere.
Giuseppe Ferrarello, benvenuto.
Grazie, sono molto felice di essere qui.
Anche noi di
E
ospitarvi.
di vedere questi tetti incredibili di Gangi.
Today, Gangi is on the tourist trail, but that's not always been the case.
When he first arrived as mayor, people had left and abandoned their historic homes and were moving down the hill. So he decided to restore the centre to as it was before, and slowly but surely recreating the atmosphere that it once was here and making it a kind of perfect jewel.
In the 8 years he has been in office, Mayor Ferrarello and his team have worked tirelessly to repopulate the historic centre. New museums, art galleries and a busy calendar of festivals among many initiatives to bring the town back to life. Of all Mayor Ferrarello's plans, the most impressive is also the most radical.
Praticamente noi, avendo il problema di molte case nel centro storico abbandonate, abbiamo avuto quest'idea pazza. Prima ci prendevano per folli, praticamente.
Not surprising. On paper, his scheme sounds like complete madness.
They realised that they had 500 empty houses. So he sent out the word that there were houses to be had here for nothing.
The only catch is that the new owner has to sign an agreement to spend around €35,000 refurbishing it within 5 years.
So far, they have 50 houses that have been rebuilt and 2,000 requests for houses currently on the books. He doesn't want people just to buy them as an investment. He wants this to be a living village. And so it's very important to him that people have some kind of connection with the place, that they're going to keep coming back, and that they fall as in love with Gangi as he is.
And many have. Over 100 people from around the world have bought into the scheme, lured by the charm and relaxed rhythms of Gangi. And I think the mayor may be trying to lure another. There's one property he seems very keen to show me.
C'è un po' di lavoro a fare.
Sì, c'è un po' di lavoro a fare, ma ne vale sicuramente la pena, no?
Absolutely lovely, isn't it? It's got enormous charm and obviously huge possibilities. Posso immaginarmi in questa casa qui, casa Polizzi?
Sì, ti puoi immaginare, te la regaliamo con grande piacere.
Dai.
This novel approach to revival has allowed the local economy to flourish, providing employment and energizing tourism here. It's a truly remarkable turnaround.
Immagino, andiamo diretti. Questo è uno dei nuovi?
Sì.
Si vede la differenza. Sì. E questo è il lavoro di cui parlavo?
Questo è il lavoro di cui parlavo, che è stata ristrutturata, tolto il cemento, fatta a pietra.
Questo è il muro com'era?
Sì, brava, sì.
E questo è come rifatto?
Non c'è dubbio assolutamente.
This is literally the before and after in front of our eyes. The house before it was restructured with this horrible cement, and the house after it, where you have all the stone exposed as it once was. Rather more beautiful, isn't it? Perché hanno fatto questo lavoro?
Perché negli anni 70-80...
sì, avevano un gusto pessimo.
Un gusto pessimo, sì. Barbari, penso.
Barbaro. So, tutto questo ha avuto che risultato?
Ha avuto risultati enormi. Il maggiore naturalmente è che oramai viene tanta gente a trovarci, ma abbiamo ricevuto tantissimi riconoscimenti a livello nazionale e internazionale. Nel 2014 siamo diventato il borgo più bello tra i borghi più belli d'Italia. Tutta una serie di...
I mean, this is a very energetic man. What can I tell you? He has not let the grass grow under his feet. The list of what he's managed to achieve in 8 years is phenomenal. And frankly, I feel very lazy compared to him.
There's one final accomplishment of this inspirational mayor that I simply have to see before leaving Gangi. He has reopened the crypt of the town's main church to the public. But this isn't any old crypt.
So this is the crypt of the mummified monks. There's about 100 monks in here. I mean, these are real skeletons. This is the only place outside ancient Egypt, I believe, that had this habit of mummifying people. It's very, very odd.
The bond between the living and the dead is particularly strong here in Sicily. Mummification rites were practiced on the island until the late 19th century. The aim was to keep them looking more or less alive for as long as possible.
The technique, apparently, was exactly that was used in Egypt. Organs taken out, embalmed, wrapped in bandages. The head was taken off, separated from the body, and put on a spike. And then a kind of wax was put over the skin of the face. Gosh. He's fairly well preserved, relatively speaking.
These desiccated dead provide scientists with a fresh insight into life and death in Sicily from the late 1600s.
It's actually an incredible resource because it allows us to find out what kind of illnesses existed then and what genetic traits were.
Framed information gives some clue to the stories of these mysterious monks.
This is one from 1870.
The mummification of corpses was seen as a way to preserve status and dignity even in death. Although looking at the creepy cadavers on display today, I'm not sure how dignified it is.
I suppose it's something that's so unusual that one has to view it dispassionately. Just their attitudes in death are deeply, deeply disturbing. None of us like to face death, but I think I prefer the idea of someone being safely put in the ground. Most weird thing I've ever seen.
Disturbing it may be, but this crypt is morbidly fascinating too. It's an example of the rich tapestry of history and culture on offer here in northern Sicily. And more treasures await on the east coast. Travelling across the north of this island, it's impossible not to feel the depth of its history. It's all around you. But there's one iconic piece of Sicily's past that's missing from its vast landscape. I've come to a farm with a difference in the foothills of Mount Etna to meet a vet called Ketty, who is doing her bit to keep an island treasure alive. This is Azalat, a sanctuary for the Sicilian donkey. The introduction of engines made the donkey redundant here in Sicily. They're now endangered, but Ketty has given the Sicilian donkey a second chance.
Come stai?
Bene, ciao.
Where they once toiled the land, they now produce milk for lactose-intolerant children.
Come mai hai di questi asini qui? Come è successo?
Tanti anni fa, quando ho avuto il mio primo figlio, ho scoperto il mondo delle intolleranze al latte vaccino, di come l'asino può essere una soluzione. L'asina produce il latte più simile al latte umano e quindi il bambino la riconosce come latte materno, e anche se è allergico alle formule maternizzate che ci sono in farmacia può bere il latte di asino.
Amazing. They're very, very friendly animals. Sono proprio affettuosi.
E questo dipende dalla loro storia.
Sì.
E l'asino praticamente viveva in casa con gli uomini in campagna, quindi il suo legame è forte. Poi è un animale estremamente buono e sensibile, quindi si affeziona in maniera come un cane, possiamo dire.
Somehow in our minds the idea of the horse and the donkey and the mule have all become conflated. The horse is at the top of the pile and the mule, the donkey, are at the bottom, but in fact they're completely different animals.
Il cavallo vive lo stallone al centro del gruppo femminile, lo conduce, lo difende, e invece il gruppo delle asine è un gruppo solo femminile, matriarcale. La matriarca rimane il capo.
So the more I find out about donkeys, the more I like them. The males are kept at the margins of their society as being extremely unimportant. Can't imagine why. Ma questa è felicità?
Chiamano.
Or perhaps they're telling us that it's 11 o'clock, which means it's milking time.
I've never seen a donkey milk before. I'm looking forward to this. Apparently it only takes a minute per donkey. There's about half a litre per donkey and they're milked twice a day. It's going to be interesting.
Donkey milk has the same protein percentage as human milk, 1.9%. It also has the same kind of sugars and 0 cholesterol. Ketty's farm produces 40 litres of milk a day, which she sells at €14 a litre. I've fallen in love with these animals. You could too. Ketty's farm is open to the public, and if you do come, it would be rude not to sample their precious milk.
My first ever donkey milk.
Beviamo?
Salute.
Salute.
Cin cin.
Ci saranno vari livelli di cin cin.
È come un latte scremato, you know.
Sì, a meno dell'1% di grassi.
Less than 1% fat. I was slightly dreading trying donkey milk. I don't know why, like I haven't tried lots of other things. But actually, it's quite sweet and it's very light. It doesn't feel so fatty. I'm not a huge fan of cow's milk to start with. This is much more up my street.
latta, lo senti un po' questa essenza vegetale, un po', no? Troppo? Ti chiedo troppo? Sommelier del latte.
She's like a kind of donkey sommelier. She said, Katie said to me, can I taste the odour of the plants coming through? And I kind of rather not think too hard about that. No, I think is the answer. Fantastico, grazie.
Grazie a te.
You know, passion like Ketty's is always inspiring. It's amazing what she's doing with this donkey. These are a big part of Sicilian history, so it's wonderful that she's kind of keeping the tradition alive.
In their heyday, these donkeys would have been tethered to another integral and unique piece of Sicilian history. The carretto siciliano is a beautifully carved and exquisitely decorated horse-drawn cart. But, like the donkey, the Sicilian cart is an island tradition close to extinction. Just down the road from Chieti, in the town of Trecastagni, Father Alfio and San Giuseppe are doing their bit to keep the Sicilian folklore alive. You'll see these colourful carts brightening up festivals across the island.
This is a real beauty pageant. I mean, it's bloody impressive.
Today they're giving me an exclusive glimpse of the whole pomp and ceremony. It's quite a fanfare. But I certainly wasn't expecting to be accompanied by all the bells and whistles of a band. Nothing quite represents Sicily like these travelling works of art. Giuseppe's vibrant and flamboyant carts have even featured in adverts for Dolce & Gabbana.
I mean, this is one of the maddest things I've ever done. I don't even really like horses very much, and being at the business end of a horse isn't what I would normally look forward to. But you can imagine the effect that a cart like this would have had. It must have blown people's minds.
In use since the early 1800s, the carretto siciliano reached their peak of popularity in the 1920s, when many thousands brightened the streets of the island. The carts were a wandering picture book that depicted historical, literary, religious or chivalrous events.
It's layer upon layer of decoration, so it's both functional, such as these, which help support the cart and make it stronger, and decorative. What I love about it is, in those rather drab and hard-working times, that there was such pleasure and such colour. It must have brought so much glamour and joy into people's lives. I think it's gorgeous. I want one.
Although I'm not sure the streets of London are ready for this. They're quintessentially Sicilian. Thank God for families like this one for preserving them. My journey across the north of Sicily has reached the east coast and my final destination, Syracuse. Syracuse is a window to the ancient history of the Mediterranean. Ruins of temples and Baroque statues grace this special city. But a strange, modern, cone-shaped building dominates the skyline here. It has to be seen to be believed. This is the Sanctuary of Our Lady of Tears, a church built in honour of a miracle that happened here 62 years ago.
Nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you too.
Welcome to the sanctuary.
So tell me the story of what happened.
Yes, the story of the Virgin Mary of Syracuse began on the 29th of August of 1953 in a local house of Syracuse. It was the house of a young married couple, Antonina and Angelo Iannuso. And it's believed a small image of the Virgin Mary cried, shed human tears for 4 days. It was very extraordinary.
In 1953, people flocked from around the world to witness the tears of the Madonna. They still make pilgrimages here today, and I'm making my own.
This is the inside, and it's astonishing. You have no idea from outside that the interior is going to be like this, and it's stunning. There's the Madonna that was originally hanging over the bed that cried the real tears, and she's incredibly beautiful. It's a peaceful and fitting end to my travels across the north of this vast island. This journey across the north of Sicily has been so rewarding, because every time I come back, I find something new. There's so many layers to the society, to the architecture, to the culture here. There's so much history. We never get to the bottom of it. It makes my soul sing. My island odyssey has reached its final leg, the south of Sicily. To me, the most untouched region of Sicily. Its coasts are wild and beaches deserted. The mountainous landscape is peppered with olive and almond groves. I'll be admiring the beauty of its famous Baroque towns before heading to the Realmonte coast to explore a fascinating industry. And I'll be going offshore to the exotic island of Pantelleria, before ending my trip at southern Sicily's most northeastern point for a seafaring fiesta. For the traveller looking to explore Sicily's diverse history, this region delivers. I am particularly fond of this part of Sicily because of the impact that you see that culture after culture has left, from the Norman churches to Baroque palazzi. It's all here. It's quite breathtaking. I can still remember my surprise when visiting in my 20s at how accessible some of its stunning remains were. I'm at the Valley of the Temples in Agrigento. There are 3 temples in a line across this valley, and it's one of the most important sites in Sicily, and the remains here are spine-tingling. It's rather strange, I'm sure, to some people that you can find better ruins here than you can in Greece. It's changed somewhat, because 15 years ago, I could still clamber all over it. You could pick up bits of column wherever you went. But look, it's amazingly complete. I'm so excited to be back here in southern Sicily. I can't believe it, it's been too long. The south is a region that begs to be explored. I had some great times travelling with a friend. I don't think there's anywhere in Europe with such a rich fabric as there is here. We hired a car and just drove and drove. On a £20 budget, we lived and ate like kings, and I remember being particularly struck by the beautiful honey-hued architecture all around me. A wonderful starting point is Ortigia, a perfect jewel of an island within the ancient city of Syracuse. There is no better time to take in its beauty than when day breaks. This is what one comes to Italy for. I defy anybody, not to have their breath taken away by this in this light with the swallows above my head. It's just perfect. There is something jaw-dropping about the particularly flamboyant nature of this southern Sicilian Baroque. What it has is this kind of patrimony, which is unlike anywhere else. And that is why I keep coming back. Less than an hour south of the international airport of Catania, you'll find the heart of Sicilian Baroque. A cluster of stunning towns that were all rebuilt in a simultaneous wave after a devastating earthquake. The elegant streets of Noto are a sight to behold.
But the historic town of Ragusa offers even more. Here you can discover an almost forgotten highlight of this region. At a shop in the historic centre, I'm meeting some of the women who still cherish a craft that's been passed down through the generations since the 14th century.
Sono Alex Polizzi. Piacere.
Piacere.
A unique form of embroidery. One where you have no idea of the skill required.
I'm in Ragusa with Maria to see one special technique, which is called sfilato siciliano, that is really only done here, of pulled linen threads. It's a tradition that's all but died out and that Maria has been trying to re-establish over the last 18 years. Allora, questo è un esempio del sfilato siciliano.
Questa è una tovaglia da tavola per 12. Una volta ci mettevano i regali della sposa.
Sfilato siciliano was once an essential skill that was taught to girls from a young age.
Che poi prima lo facevano le ragazze che erano nell'istituto, le orfanelle, e poi man mano hanno imparato tutte le donne ragusane. Questo
adesso?
era un lavoro che facevo, cioè è stato un bellissimo indotto per Ragusa.
I love this. It really, really reminds me of my nonna Polizzi, who was incredibly proud of her bits and bobs.
Owning a piece of this intricate threadwork is like owning a piece of art.
Lenzuolino baby. Royal baby questo poteva essere.
This is for a baby's bed, a sheet and a pillowcase for a royal baby.
Questo è il cuscino. E
Ma
poi
che
questo
bello!
It's a craft for the more patient among us.
Per quanto tempo vuole una lavorazione tale?
Allora noi c'è un anno di tempo ci vuole, ma non perché si lavora tutti i giorni messi lì, perché è pesante. 3 ore al giorno si può fare qua. E poi adesso si fa per il piacere di avere una cosa bella.
Sì.
To Maria, this is second nature. But to me, this delicate embroidery is just baffling.
So that bit of paper is a design, which is then drawn onto this. E non capisco come ancora.
Questo non è facile,
No,
per questo è il
voglio
problema.
solo capire come.
E certo. Allora, questo è il disegno, vede?
E questo è il sfilato.
È sfilato.
I still don't understand how on earth it happens.
Forbice e quest'ago grande. Si tagliano dei fili contati. 4 le lascio e 3 le taglio. Così. Ed eseguo il disegno.
Che concentrazione. Io non avrei mai la pazienza. This was a pastime after your housework was done. Just think on that.
Era un altro mondo.
So what you're
Si passa 2
doing
volte.
is knotting the 4 threads. The 3 threads. Like, honestly, it's made me go cross-eyed just looking at it. Mamma mia, non ci riesco neanche a guardare, neanche, ma... E perché ha voluto sapere come fare questo lavoro?
Perché mi è sempre piaciuto il lavoro dello sfilato siciliano, i lavori mi sono sempre piaciuti, e poi anche perché è una tradizione della nostra terra, quindi è un peccato che vada persa.
I don't think this is a profession for me. I mean, world famous lack of patience I have.
I take my hat off to Maria.
Devi essere un po'... So she says you've got to be a bit touched to do this work. Un po' toccata.
Ma ci vuole invece molta intelligenza.
Sì, molta intelligenza.
Bisogna contare, creare, molto creativa.
I thought Maria was astonishing. She's so full of energy and she's so enthusiastic. It is an incredibly beautiful craft, and it would be tragic if it died out.
I'm bidding a hasty retreat, but in truth, I'm in no hurry to leave this beautiful town. Because next I have to go deep underground if I'm to discover Sicily's most spectacular secret. I've made it to the southern shores of Realmonte, where there is a natural phenomenon that has to be seen to be believed, the Scala dei Turchi.
These are the Turkish steps. Never seen them before. Aren't they amazing? I mean, it's so beautiful. I've never seen anything like this anywhere in the world. Just amazing. Oh, I'm so lucky to be here.
The so-called Turkish steppes derived their name from a time when Arab pirates moored their boats here while they invaded the local towns. They are formed from a blinding white sedimentary rock that cascades down to the sea.
Even nature in this part of the world conspires to make you feel completely and utterly bewitched. It's one of Sicily's most striking secrets.
Today, locals and tourists will spend the day luxuriating on these striking white rocks. Not me. I'm interested in what lies beneath. For here in Realmonte, the intrepid explorer can go on a journey deep underground. I'm about to enter a subterranean salt mine, and I'm starting to doubt my sense of adventure.
I'm not brilliant at underground. I'm a bit nervous about whether I'm going to feel claustrophobic. I hope it's interesting enough to distract me.
Luckily, I have Calogero, the boss here, as my guide and protector.
Here we go.
This is well and truly off the beaten track of most visitors.
So we're going down to a depth of 350 metres. I'm actually feeling quite anxious. Quanto sale estratte ogni anno?
Ogni anno abbiamo una media di circa 1 milione di tonnellate.
My gosh, my gosh.
It's a quantity put into context when you consider that the salt has existed here for 6 million years.
Quando lo stretto di Gibilterra si chiuse, quindi il Mediterraneo non aveva più collegamento con acqua fresca dell'oceano.
Sì.
Quindi diventò un grossissimo bacino,
Sì.
con l'avvento a porto di acqua fresca
Sì.
da parte dell'oceano cominciò a evaporare.
This salt is what was left behind. 6 million years. The roads that we're driving through now are created by the gradual extraction of the salt. They literally have scraped it off the walls, creating these huge tunnels. It's amazing that this is a kind of a product that was just deposited so many years ago and that it's still going. C'è ancora abbastanza sale per quanti anni?
Allora, noi abbiamo valutato con dei sondaggi esterni
Sì.
che ancora ci sono da tirare fuori 540 milioni di tonnellate.
Mamma mia!
Questo è vero.
Ma allora è un deposito...
È un deposito grossissimo, uno dei più grossi che possa esistere in Europa.
There's a lot of salt here.
There are more than 100 kilometers of ghostly tunnels in this subterranean wonderland.
Very impressive.
This mine produces salt for gritting roads across Europe and America.
Oh my God. Mamma mia.
It's a resource that's constantly in demand and keeps the machines here busy.
Yeah. Look at that. Now that is a machine. Wow.
Ecco, per adesso la macchina sta dando in produzione.
It's an amazingly impressive operation. This is a bit of the salt as it's extracted.
po' salato.
You could really taste the salt in your mouth. It's very odd. It's also, realistically, you're working with machines. Doesn't seem to be any fresh air down here. You have to be, as far as I'm concerned, pretty tough to work down here. I'd hate it.
But apparently there are some benefits to being among so much salt.
Però fa bene alle vie respiratorie, lo sapevi? Sì.
Ah sì? No, non sapevo.
E come?
I'm pleased to hear it.
Amidst the grit and chaos of this mine and its machinery, I discover something really quite magical. Here, in the depths of this mine, you can come to worship in a cathedral of salt. It's one of only 2 subterranean cathedrals in the world.
Look at that. That's wonderful. Look at these wonderful carvings. The Holy Family, but my definite favourite is the crucified Christ. Made by the salt miners, carved by the salt miners for their devotions.
It's been created as a haven of safety for the miners in an otherwise perilous place.
I can imagine that these men working underground find some comfort here because it is a very strange environment in which to be working and one that I certainly wouldn't be able to handle. But I am staggered by the scale of it, by the facts and figures that have been given to me. It's an incredibly impressive operation and one I won't forget in a hurry.
I can't pretend I'm not glad to be above ground, but caked in salt, I'm in need of some rejuvenation. Just half an hour's drive further along the coast, heading west, is one of my Uncle Rocco's hotels. And it would be remiss of me to come all this way and drive straight past.
The salt mine was an experience, one I'm unlikely to repeat, and I'm glad to have had it, but my goodness, I'm much happier to be here now. With the sea and all this green around me. This island has traditionally not been rich in anything except for the amazing produce that there is here. The weather provides perfect growing conditions for almost everything, and so people might have been poor, but they always ate well.
It was the main appeal for my uncle, who chose this part of the island to build a luxury hotel. Here at Verdura, which commonly means vegetable, you can't fail to feel the connection with Sicily's roots and particularly the land.
It's like its own little province here. It's bigger than Monaco. And even the agricultural area is pretty impressive. It's over 2,600 square metres. There's over 3,000 orange trees, over 2,000 olive trees, 50 lemon trees. There's masses of produce that you can eat, literally as soon as it's picked.
The coastline is the other big draw here.
Southern Sicily has miles of lonely, slightly windswept, sandy beaches. It feels very raw in a way, and it's quite hard to think that actually we're in a very populated part of Western Europe. It feels like we're further away than that. You can smell, there's a very strong smell of seaweed, and that is because this is one of the few spots where there's this miraculous stuff called Posidonia, which helps clean the oceans. It releases oxygen. This is one of the cleanest parts of the sea in Sicily.
The resort also celebrates one of Sicily's oldest and most colourful exports, ceramics. Because this island mines clay of the finest quality, sculpting is an ancient tradition with roots that date back to 1200. Today, artisan sculptors continue to produce an array of work, from tiles to traditional trinkets. But what I love is how the pieces tell the agricultural story of this region.
So this is a very traditional looking design, and it's traditional because of what it depicts, which are the lemon and the pomegranate. And the pomegranate in particular is a sign of prosperity, which is why it's so popular to put up in a house. I love Sicilian ceramics. Marcus is always telling me off because every time I come to this part of the world, I always buy something and he has to cart it back, handheld on the plane. I have bowls of every shape and size. I must have 40 in my house.
Alberto has been sculpting intricate figurines like these for over 50 years.
He's making a drunkard, and you can see he's got a flagon in one hand and a jug in the other. He looks like I felt last night. Questo è un lavoro molto particolare perché lo fai a occhio.
Sì, a livello artigianale, tutto ad occhio, senza progettazione, abbiamo tutto nella mente. Sì, una volta si usavano fare tutto a stampo. Oggi noi abbiamo un 50enne di esperienza di queste statuette fatte a sfoglia, diciamo.
Sì.
Colare in tutto il mondo queste statuette così, fatte così. Infatti vediamo quelle finite.
Carino lui.
Ecco. Queste si possono
molto carino
rubare per i presepi.
He's really skilled and it is admirable. I love it.
Sadly, I won't be able to add to my collection because next I'm going offshore to a remote and mysterious island closer to Africa than Europe, Pantelleria. As I edge ever closer to the foreign shores of Tunisia, Sicily's largest offshore island lies waiting to be discovered, the black pearl of the Mediterranean, Pantelleria. It's a short flight or a ferry journey away from Sicily, but here the magical grottos and lava stone terrain feels like another world. Strikingly, this is the windiest island of the Mediterranean. Once a volcano that blew over 600,000 years ago, nature has kept the upper hand here ever since, as I'm about to discover. I've come to one of the island's vineyards, Donna Fugata, to meet owner Jose on an intensely blustery day.
Hi, Alex, how are you? Welcome to Donna Fugata and welcome to Pantelleria. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
A tour of this vineyard is not only a great way to soak up some culture, but will also open your eyes to the particular quirks of living here.
Pantelleria, where Europe meets Africa.
Unbelievably, agriculture thrives on this dry, windswept island.
I've arrived on a very, very windy day. Is it often like this?
Well, of course, Pantelleria is the island of the wind. It's very strong wind and very constant during the year. It's one of the most striking elements of the microclimate of the island.
Over the centuries, the farmers have managed to adapt to the extremities by creating a unique form of training the vines and bushes.
The farmer on Pantelleria Island need to protect the vine, the olive trees from the wind. So as for the vine, he decided to dig a hole in the soil, so to cultivate the plant as a bush, very low, with the branches resting on the floor in a horizontal way. It's very, very creative and typical of the island.
So you never let them get very high. You prune them so they stay low, so they escape the worst effects of the wind.
Exactly.
This method of training vines has been recognised by UNESCO. That must be rather unique.
This is great. This is great because it is the first time in the history that UNESCO recognized World Heritage a rural and agricultural practice the way you train a vine.
The distinctive lava stone plays a vital role here too. Mile upon mile of terracing not only protects the produce from the buffeting breeze, its crevices trap moisture from nighttime dew, giving the plants a valuable water source during the day. This clever system makes it possible to grow everything from capers to citrus fruits.
It's just incredible because from the outside you see a fortress.
Yeah.
And you say, what's going to be inside? Just a tree? This is the only way you can grow citrus fruit on this windy island. The only way.
It's so clever.
It's very clever.
So healthy.
So healthy, very green, you see, very deep green, so it's in perfect condition.
But the real star of this 168-acre vineyard is a special type of grape variety which flourishes here called Zibibbo. Some of the vines here are over a century old. The wine produced from them is world-renowned.
Zibibbo is a type of muscat, and Zibibbo in this special condition give great results in terms of aromas.
I'm dying to try some wine.
I've been invited to join the rest of the team who work here for lunch, along with a spot of wine tasting. I'm about to try Donna Fugata's most celebrated wine, Ben Rie. The production that goes into this wine means that it doesn't come cheap. A bottle of this prestigious tipple will cost around £30.
Perrier is a wine made from dried grapes. So not only fresh grapes. You smell the Perrier and you feel, wow, I am on Pantelleria Island. I am in Sicily. I am in the Mediterranean Sea. And now let's have a sip. And now you have maybe something more intense.
I just can't, I mean, honestly, I can't get over the colour.
It's seductive.
I found all your wines seductive. They're wonderful. It's so nice, thank you.
The precious Zibibbo grape was an Arab import, one of many southern influences that have endured here ever since their invasion in the 8th century. Pantelleria's houses are another. Known as damusi, many of these single-storey lava stone dwellings have become quirky holiday homes. And this persistent wind blowing up from the Sahara, its original Arabic name, Bint al-Rion, means daughter of the wind. Today, it's so windy that they've shut the airport. Luckily, I can seek shelter with a dear friend of mine. Flavio Albanese is a world-famous architect who, along with other stars like Armani and Madonna, is drawn to this enigmatic island despite its extreme weather.
Ciao!
Hello. Ciao, come stai? Ciao.
I'm so pleased to be here.
Nice to see you here.
Thank you very much for
You've never
inviting
been?
me. Never been.
Great.
Never been to Pantelleria, and after all these years, I've never been to your house.
As I fully expected, Flavio's home is extraordinary, the heart of which dates back to the 18th century. It's evolved from the traditional one-room layout into a sprawling 28-bedroom retreat. But the real feature of this house is the purpose-built living room.
I love this room.
I built it because I didn't find an existing room large enough to have like 10 people on the winter time. So I would like to have a fireplace and a place where we stay all together. So I have to build it. It's the place where we usually stay when it's like today, windy day.
It's not just windy, it's that, I mean, I feel battered by the wind today. Is it always like this?
No.
I know it's a windy island.
Well, this is a windy island, but it's unusual for the June, but it's okay.
What made you fall in love with this island so much? What is it that attracts you to the
Well,
island?
the sea's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's not, the postcard sea.
Yeah.
It's very deep and blue.
Yeah.
No sand, So you can stay at 29, 30 meters deeper and you see completely clear till the top.
Yeah, lovely.
And the island is beautiful inside. It's not a beach island.
Yeah.
People, it's nice. Local people is very nice, very charming. It's a small island, you're in the middle of nowhere, so you pay attention to the guests. And I love the island, the people of the island.
Yeah.
So you know, everybody knows me here.
This ferocious wind has left me stranded here tonight, so I'm getting an unscheduled taste of Flavio's legendary hospitality. On the menu is a signature dish of Pantelleria, homemade by islander Emilia.
Yes, I would love you to serve me. I'm starving. Thanks, darling. Is this a traditional dish?
It's a traditional dish. We
Pasta.
call ravioli panteschi. Basta,
Yeah.
are you sure?
Yes. The smell of the mint. It's very strong, the mint. It's
It is strong.
lovely.
So what do you think about the island?
But you know what? It's got a very harsh beauty. It takes a moment to get your eye oriented. It's not a picture postcard kind of place. You have to feel it, don't you?
Yeah. Well,
Thanks.
toast.
Thanks, my darling. Lovely to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks
Good
for the
to be here.
invitation.
Pantelleria does leave a lasting impression, and I can't believe it's taken me so long to come and experience it. But tomorrow it's back to Sicily, where it's fiesta time. I'm back in Sicily, where the final moments of my journey take me to a place near the city of Trapani that's remained a secret to most tourists. I'm at San Vito lo Capo, which is the northwestern tip of Sicily. It's a traditional fishing village, and it's still stayed that. It's absolutely lovely. What a lovely place to end. They call this the Caribbean of Italy because of its soft white sand and clear blue seas. But in truth, it feels more African than anything else. There's only one road that comes in and out of this place. Maybe that's why it's so unspoiled. San Vito isn't just aesthetically African. The local dish enjoyed here may come as a surprise. Couscous is the traditional food here, and that is because the fishermen from here used to go and fish in Africa. It's come here, but it's never spread much beyond San Vito, and yet it's yet another thing that makes this place feel more like Africa than Italy. But this is couscous like I've never had it before. It's made with almonds, parsley, garlic, onion, cinnamon, and flakes of the local fish. It comes with its own broth, which tastes absolutely delicious. Which I meant to pour over the couscous. I'm longing to try it. Delicious. I've never had couscous in Italy like this before. I've never really had couscous like this anywhere. It's fantastic. But the real charm of San Vito is its enduring reputation as a fishing village. This troubled industry has weathered widespread problems over the years, and San Vito hasn't escaped these. But small fishing businesses have and do still thrive here, partly because of a long-held passion, but also because of the efforts of a local cooperative run by Antonina Napoli. Mi fa molta impressione che ci sono ancora pescatori qui, quando so che in alcuni, tanti altri posti, la pesca più o meno non esiste più. Commercialmente, com'è stato possibile?
È stato possibile perché San Vito è fondamentalmente un paese di pescatori, quindi questa tradizione che ha delle origini antichissime ancora oggi si tramanda di padre in figlio, e pur essendo perché pur essendoci le difficoltà loro cercano di non arrendersi, perché è una tradizione che non vogliono fare sparire. C'è un legame viscerale con il mare. Ecco.
That's very nice. What is amazing is that 18, 19, 20-year-olds are still trying to undergo their apprenticeships, let's say. They still have a real pull to the sea. They're determined not to give up, even with all the difficulties that exist.
It's clear to me that, for the men and women of this village, there is no alternative to fishing. It's a tradition that's ingrained in the locals. Franco is one of the fishermen who felt the pull of the sea here.
Franco. Hi.
Oh, hello.
I'm Alex.
I'm Frank.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You're a fisherman here.
I'm a fisherman, like these people here. We're all fishermen here.
Born in San Vito, Franco's family moved to America when he was a child, but he returned for a family occasion and has stayed ever since.
How many fishermen are there still here in San Vito?
In San Vito, I think maybe 100.
Gosh, that's a lot.
Yeah. My relatives, they're all fishermen. And
Yeah.
I have the fisherman in my blood because when I was in America, all the time think about fishing. And I went to fishing too in Monterey, California, in Canada. Then when I see San Vito, the first thing that I say to my father, Papa, my life is here in San Vito. I'm gonna stay here. I love this place. I really love this place. It's really beautiful. I go around the world, but for me, it's one of the best places to live. It's really nice.
It is lovely.
Yeah.
Today, though, the sea is alive with activity of a very different kind.
The sea is stunning, and I'm going to finish with the festa.
I'm lucky enough to be here during the town's annual celebration of its fishermen and its namesake, San Vito. I'm told it's quite an occasion. An opportunity for the locals to relax and indulge in a few peculiar traditions.
Was going to get it. I can't believe that guy got it in the end because it really didn't look to me like he was going to. It was more luck than judgment. At least that's the way it looked to me. Really good fun. Everyone's having a lovely time. I mean, what's not to enjoy, right?
As the sun begins to disappear behind the mountains, the real heart of the festival begins, as dozens of boats, including Franco's, take to the sea. In a rather chaotic procession in honor of San Vito, it could only be Italy.
What a laugh. I love it here. I love how friendly everyone is. I love the community spirit. You saw it this afternoon when they were doing the greasy pole, and now look at this. Every boat is on the water. Quite a flotilla here. As far as I'm concerned, Italians know how to have fun better than any other nation I know. I might be wrong, but you'll have to prove it to me.
Viva San Vito!
They certainly know how to throw a festa, don't they?
I've been told to expect the unexpected.
There's a young boy who represents San Vito who's holding the palm leaf and is with a bearded guy and an older woman. I can only assume that his parents. I don't know really what's going on, but I know we're heading ashore. And we're heading ashore to a cacophony of horns and a number of flares being let off. To the adoring crowd. This is always how I should arrive everywhere. Look at all those people on the seafront. It's unbelievable.
San Vito to step ashore. I love Italy. I love Italy every time I come to an event like this. I think there's not a more generous, fun-loving, kind of chilled out, relaxed place in the world. They have their traditions and they stick to them, but they know how to do them really well. And to finish like this, who could want anything more? It's been more of an adventure than I could ever have imagined.
It's absolutely stunning. It's amazing. Most weird thing I've ever seen.
And it's reinforced my belief that you can never visit one Italian island and think you've seen them all.
I mean, it's so beautiful. This is what one comes to Italy for.
Everywhere I've been has felt unique.
It feels like the outer edge of the known world. Here there be dragons.
I've been to the most beautiful, breathtaking places.
This is what I call a ballroom. I want to party in here.
Meeting so many fascinating and friendly people.
Wow!
Wow,
Grazie mille!
But the one enduring trait that I've felt is their passion and strong, independent spirit.
Please, what a charmer he is. He's an example to all of us.
Grazie, grazie.
There's a real community here, and they're all incredibly proud of their island.
It's a trip of a lifetime. Italy has done me proud.
I still love this place, and I still think it's got something that nowhere else I've ever been in the world can touch.